We all have a lot to chat about today, and I'm really excited to introduce Dr. Tonya Calhoun, Tonya Howard Calhoun, to y'all. She is the executive director?
President of COVA.
The president of COVA, which is the Council on Volunteer Administrators. And so she has tons of experience in volunteer management. She does a lot of trainings like this. So we're really, really fortunate to have her. I'm going to read your bio because I didn't memorize it. Okay. Dr. Tonya Howard Calhoun has a rich background in the nonprofit sector and an overwhelmingly deep passion for volunteerism. She has spent over 15 years in the field of volunteer management, utilizing her skills to create various resources such as volunteer handbooks, recruitment plans, training and development manuals, and program evaluation tools. She is the owner of Altruistically Yours, a company specializing in volunteer management consultation. Tonya is currently the president of the Council of Volunteer Administrators for Metro Atlanta. She also serves on the board for Vertical Church Atlanta and the nonprofit Trinity Awards. Tonya has facilitated volunteer management classes at Oglethorpe University and Coppin State University. She has also led trainings at the Whitney M. Young Leadership Conference and the Nonprofit Leadership Alliance Conference. Tonya has been educated at Spelman College, Troy University, and the Thomas M. Cooley Law School. She most recently earned a PhD in nonprofit management and leadership from Walden University. Tonya lives in Marietta with her husband, Alze. Alze. Cool name. Okay, so please welcome Tonya.
Good morning. Everybody made it through the liquid sunshine. I'm really excited to be here. Excuse my sinus voice. I've got sinus allergies, all kinds of stuff going on right now. But I'm really excited to be here. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about engaging or recruiting, retention, and then creating leaders in your nonprofit organizations. So in addition to what I have prepared on or in my presentation, I wanted to ask if there are anything specific that you guys wanted to kind of talk about, cover, as it relates to those different areas, so I can make sure that I hit those.
I have a very small group, but I have 300 members that are never engaged, but a lot, like 20 of them.
Okay.
Go out and glean. And I'll send them, mass emailings about little jobs they can do, and I just don't get any responses.
Okay.
So I need to know how to pull them out.
Yeah, I have a similar issue. There are a lot of people who have signed up that are interested, and then we have kind of the same group that are very dedicated, that come out a lot. We really do need to broaden our base.
Okay. Okay.
Also, like volunteer appreciation.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, retention. I think a lot of us have some pretty large off seasons. Sometimes I feel like it's really hard to retain volunteers from, they come out when we're harvesting, and then the whole off season goes along, and then
Kind of like fall off.
yeah, who's the people?
Yeah. It's like, oh, I volunteered with you before.
So we're having an issue finding, so the way we work, we've got tons and tons of volunteers, but we don't have enough of the, what we call a neighborhood leader, who scouts the trees, who sets up the harvest, who develops the relationship with the homeowner. So we've got all these people who want to harvest, but not enough people to get to all our trees. And we have so many trees, we can only do so much. So I'm trying to figure out how we recruit those kind of step up from volunteers and then retain them, because I can go to the colleges, but they're only available for 2 years before they move on to other things.
Okay. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Yay. So I'm going to start with recruiting. So we all know, oftentimes when we're looking for roles to fill, we're so anxious to fill those roles that we actually just kind of put people in positions like, oh my God, we're desperate. We're going to put you in this role. But we all know what that looks like when people aren't really, I guess, skill set for that role, or they're really not interested, but they're trying to just help you out with, what you need at the time. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, designing a strategy to find the appropriate people, if you will, for those positions that are needed. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. If I start talking too fast, slow me down, or if there are questions, I know that we're saving those till the end, but if there's something where you're like, Tonya, hold on, just can you point that out for a little bit, just let me know. So first I'm going to talk about some recruiting concepts. So first, until you identify and address people's possible resistance to volunteering, you will not reach their potential in volunteering or your potential in volunteer recruitment. So what am I saying? So let's talk about different organizational barriers that might come up, if you will, when you're starting to recruit for your nonprofit organization. So here's one. People have limited time and need flexibility. A regular commitment, it can be kind of difficult. So what kind of positions can you put in place for that? What kind of volunteer positions? What are you thinking?
Retirees have more time. We have those.
As far as roles, what do you think?
Yeah, something that people can just do like whenever. Yeah.
Short-term, episodic roles.
A remote
So,
role? A role that you can do remotely?
yes. Yes. So just make sure you have opportunities that are short-term, that are episodic, and some that can be done at home, online, things of that nature. Another thing that might come up, costs related to volunteering can be overwhelming. Are there any volunteer opportunities that you guys have that cost to actually participate in volunteering?
We have volunteers that have trucks and trailers that drive for us, and so occasionally we have a little bit of a budget so that we can, help them with gas from time to time. Not every time, but I think it's important just to do it periodically and let them know that we appreciate, their output and their effort.
Yeah. I know some organizations, they actually charge for, if you want to have a shirt while you're volunteering, if you want to, if it's a position that is not like an ongoing role, or if it's like a one-time event, you might have a budget for that. And so volunteers will have to pay for that. And sometimes people will think that's a little bit overwhelming. There are also times when when you have a nonprofit organization that have, I guess, a clientele that can be very vulnerable, like children or senior citizens, you actually have to do a background check. And so sometimes volunteers have to pay for that background check. Sometimes they're $20, sometimes they're only $7. So just making sure you actually have like volunteer opportunities where you can actually cover those expenses for people volunteering, because they'll appreciate that. Another thing, the location of the organization may be inconvenient, but you really want to volunteer for that organization. And to your point, what's your name?
Eric.
Eric. You want to make sure you are able to have volunteer positions that can be done at home, that can be done, well, anywhere, that can be done remotely. And those things could be data entry. It could be, you had this big event where people were signing in, signing out. I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that. And you just might not have the volunteer staff to input all those entries. You can find a volunteer to do that from home, and they can just email that to you, so you won't have to worry about that particular assignment. The onboarding process takes too long. Has anyone heard that before? Like, I signed up, I gotta do this, I gotta do a background check, I gotta do this. When am I gonna start? When am I gonna start, doing these great things for the organization? I've heard that so many times in an organization where I used to work, because we had a very, very vulnerable population, or clientele, if you will. We were working with homebound citizens, and they either had, they were HIV positive, they had AIDS, they may have had diabetes, they may have had cancer, but they're literally homebound. And so, you've got people delivering meals to them. You don't really know these people. They're coming into their houses, sometimes, putting the meals on their counter, and you just want to make sure you're doing everything to make sure that those clients are going to be okay. So, of course, we had to have a background check. Sometimes that took forever, and people were like, I don't want to do this anymore. And what we ended up doing was putting them in another position that did not require such a tedious process, if you will. We also had meal packing, and that was on campus, where you literally are just packing the meals, and so you don't have to go through such a strenuous background check. So just make sure you have opportunities that are those quick ones. You can get them in, and they can start doing whatever until you're checking them out to make sure they can do things when you're a more vulnerable population. The interested volunteer does not receive a response from the organization that they've expressed an interest in. Who has that issue where I sent 10 emails, nobody has responded to me? Why do you think that happens?
People don't check the email.
People don't read. Drives me crazy. What else? I saw another hand.
You don't have
I
other-
just think it's overextended organizations, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
Bingo.
Yeah, yeah. What we did at Open Hand, we dealt with 10,000 volunteers annually. So we were always getting groups, getting family members. We want to do this. I've got this big group, from Cox, 200 people want to come. And so even though we had a staff of 5 people within our volunteer services department, some of those volunteers would kind of slip through the cracks. And so what we ended up doing was setting up an email system. Of course, it was like volunteer@openhandatlanta.org. And what we did to make sure that we stopped having those volunteers fall through the cracks, everybody on the team had access to that particular email address. And so, when we saw that it didn't get responded to in a timely manner, just go and respond and say, hey, we've got these many slots open, da-da-da-da-da. And what we ended up doing was saying, reply all, so the whole team would know, I've responded to this, or this needs to be responded to. And that helped us a lot with missing those people who really, really wanted to, get involved, and we just kept missing them. We just literally kept missing them. So those are, you just want to make sure you have a system where something like that happens, where people will not start to fall through the cracks, because they'll get uninterested. Social media can be your friend and your enemy. People are like, do not get involved with such and such. They do not call you back. And sometimes that's not the case. You're just overextended as a nonprofit organization. And anybody who's in volunteer management, you're wearing 10,000 hats at one time. You're sometimes the executive director, sometimes a volunteer director, sometimes a volunteer manager, all at the same time, and you just don't have time to respond to everything. So the next concept, volunteer recruitment. For it to be successful, the needs of the organization and the needs of the volunteer must be met simultaneously. And so we'll talk a little bit about that a little later in the presentation, where we want to make sure whatever that volunteer desire is to get involved with the organization, you're also being met as an organization. Or somebody might say, I really want to be a team leader in, cultivating an environment where people are, learning more about eating healthy, you know how that is. You want to make sure you have a position for that, because you just might not have that. You might not even need that. So you want to make sure whatever their needs are matches whatever your needs are, because in the end, it's for you. It's what you need as an organization. So, again, oftentimes we want to just put people in positions, and we know what happens when we have the wrong people in positions where we really need them to step up to the plate. The stuff that just does not get done. And so what I want to do today is help you guys create some techniques to help you with recruitment. So these are things to avoid when you're looking for volunteers. Oh, there's nothing to it. There's probably a lot to it. We're desperate, anyone will do. Actually, no, anyone will not do. Even though you want those warm bodies, you really want somebody who is interested in it, who wants to make sure your mission is fulfilled, and who's going to get the work done. So anybody will not do. You're a CPA. You can use one of you. Sometimes where people are in their career, they don't want to also volunteer in that. I've been doing this like 40 hours a week. I want to go to a place where my mind is not thinking about accounting or whatever they're involved in. We have lots of needs, help. That might be true, but you don't want to just look as desperate, as you probably are, but just make sure your wording does not look like that, you know what I mean? So, the best strategy for finding the right volunteer is to use marketing principles which involve an exchange in values. So our volunteer job that fits the person's interests and skills. So let's talk about developing a recruitment strategy. So the 4 most common strategies used in recruiting volunteers are warm body, concentric circles, brokered, and targeted. So what's that first one? What in the world is warm body? So these are for those short-term positions. So it could be you're doing, what's a big event that you guys do in your organization, like a one-day event? Anybody?
A dinner.
A
We
dinner?
do a harvest dinner.
Okay.
At the end of the season.
Harvest dinner?
We do potato drops, 40,000 pounds at a time, so we
Okay.
need a lot of volunteers.
Okay, okay. And so in those, you don't really need people who have specific skill sets per se. You just need those warm bodies, right? So that is warm body recruitment. And you can, disseminate information about your organization through brochures, through posters, through one-pagers, things of that nature. And so those are the big time, if you have a Hands-On Atlanta organization, they can help you with recruiting those volunteers. Is anybody in your organization tied to Hands-On? Where
I've
they
used
actually
them
do your
before.
recruitment for you?
I've done that in Florida.
Okay,
Yeah.
how has that worked for
It
you?
worked really well.
Yes,
They had a really good coordinator, and she was very
okay,
attentive, and yeah, it was good. We got a large group of people in
okay.
a short period of time.
I urge you to get involved with Hands-On. Now, I think it's a small fee to post your opportunities, but they will post it, and they actually track. They have a system where they're able to track when people sign up. You can send emails through Hands-On Atlanta or Hands-On, and they will send whatever updates you have for your organization through that particular organization, through Hands-On. So these are your warm body people. Anybody actually will do. Anybody will do. So you're just really trying to fill those roles. The next one is concentric circles. So these are your volunteers. You may have told a family member, I'm new at this organization, I'm the volunteer coordinator, and we just want to make sure that we have 10,000 volunteers per year. And your family's like, oh, I want to volunteer, I want to get involved. So these are your concentric circle volunteers. These are your family members. These are oftentimes people who are actually on staff who want to volunteer. So you can use your staff people at your organization. But again, these are your alumni people. You may have gone to school with people who are like, you know what, I have an interest in volunteering. I want to get a big group together to come out. So these are your people that you can pull on. And even though they start out as doing a one-time event, they might end up being your biggest supporter, your biggest ambassador. So these are your concentric circle volunteers. So the next one, brokered recruitment. So these are, again, you can use these volunteers for your ongoing volunteer opportunities. You can use these volunteers for your big one-time events. And these are your local colleges. And again, they might not have the time for extended volunteer opportunities, but for those big one-time events, for those events that are going to be 3 months or whatever, take advantage of the colleges that are in your area. The college students need the hours. They need 75 hours in the first year, I believe. I can't remember, but take advantage of those those college students. Service learning organizations, take advantage of those people. The civic groups, take advantage of those, because those are going to be the people that you need them at that time, and you never know. Even though they're graduated from college, they might stay in the city and they might continue to be your specific ambassador for your organization. The last one is targeted recruitment. So these are the opportunities that are your ongoing opportunities. They are the ones where you're going to look for people who have specific skill sets. They are the opportunities where, even though it might start off as a one-time thing, it might turn into something that's way more than that. So these are the campaigns that require a carefully planned approach to a small audience. And we use this method when you're trying to recruit volunteers that need to have specific skills or not commonly found characteristics. So a targeted campaign requires that you answer several questions. What do we need as an organization? Who could provide this? How can we communicate with them? And what do we do to motivate them? Initial motivation and ongoing motivation. So this is your targeted recruitment. I'm a little biased to this one. I think it is the most successful recruitment strategy because it is very specific to what you need. Very, very specific to what you need. So what does that even look like? So let's talk a little bit about the targeted approach. Selecting a specific target group within the community. So let's just throw a group out. What are we looking for?
Gleaners.
Gleaners. Why are you here? So let's determine where in the world can we find our Gleaners? Where can we find them? You can find them at any social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, internet sites like ideallist.org. Do you utilize any of these sites? Volunteer Match, Indeed, faith-based organizations, people, they want to volunteer at their church, but they also want to volunteer out in the community as well. Your friends, colleges, local stores. I've actually walked up to somebody who had a shirt on. I was like, you look like you're interested in volunteering. Because they had this, let's change the world shirt. And I was like, really? Change my world at Open Hand right now. We need some people, sororities and fraternities. Your
Did
place
that
of
work?
employment. Yeah.
Did that work? Did it work?
It did work. I'm telling you, it did work. And I like to talk to people, period. So I'm like and I can be a little touchy, like, oh, hey, so stop touching me. But I talked to that person for about 30 minutes in that grocery store. They came to volunteer. They did meal packing for us. And they just loved it. They absolutely loved it. And I think it's because of the delivery on our end at Open Hand. We really like the mission, this, and we changed these lives, and we motivated these people, and they were like, oh my God, I feel so inspired, And you gotta get them on the front end. You gotta, pull on those heartstrings. And they volunteered that first day. They brought their family the next time.
Oh.
They sure did. And then they started doing other things in the organization.
Cool.
And so, she stayed for about a year, and then after that, got a little overwhelming because we were like, hey, we need you to come in,
Tonya, will you talk a little bit about that feel-good pitch you give at the beginning,
Yeah.
or is that already part of your presentation?
No, I'm going to talk about that now. So Open Hand actually started in '89 by a gentleman who had about 14 friends who were living with AIDS, HIV. And so he actually were caring for those people because at the time, AIDS was very new. So family members were kind of like, I don't really know if I want to be around you, even though you're my brother, because I'm a little scared, I'm a little scared of the whole AIDS epidemic. And so, long story short, he actually got 14 of his very own friends and just got in the kitchen and started cooking for his friends. He'd go to their house, he'd care for them, he'd love on them, he'd do anything that they needed. You got to go to the doctor, I'll take you to the doctor, whatever they needed. That turned into 14 clients, all the way to, I think, 2,500 clients now at Open Hand. They pack, deliver, and cook 5,000 meals every single day for these clients at Open Hand. So when you hear something like that, you can't help but to get emotional. And so we wanted to make sure the people who were volunteering knew the impact that they were making on those individuals. Because we still had clients who were living with AIDS, HIV. We still had clients who had family members who were just busy. You know what I mean? Like life happens. And so we wanted to make sure volunteers knew that they weren't just coming in, packing meals, passing down. You're actually packing these meals for people who cannot leave their house. So we wanted to make sure we were pulling on those heartstrings, but it was the truth. But we wanted to make sure we caught them at the beginning before they even volunteered. Especially for people who were using their cars to deliver meals. You're using your own gas. You're using your own car. And you're going into areas that might not even be familiar to you, and sometimes you get to the client's house and they're like, well, baby, can you bring it in? I'm blind, can you bring it in and set it on the counter? So we wanted to make sure people understood the true impact that they were making with the clients. And it wasn't just, here's your meal. No, you're really dealing with people who cannot leave their house. They haven't seen family members, for, I don't know, years. So we wanted to, get that on the front end. And then especially for meal packing, at the end of their time together, we told them how many meals they packed. You packed 3,000 meals. You did more than the last group that was here. Come back, And so they were like, what? 3,000 meals? Oh, I'm coming back. We're going to do more than that. So we, on the back end, we got them there too. We let them know what their impact was. And so that's very important. It might be hard to do that. We were taking pictures while they were volunteering. We were adding up the numbers for whatever they were doing that day. And when they were done, we sat them back in the room where they did their orientation, put it up on the screen, and we showed them their impact for the day. And let me tell you, corporate groups will come out because they had to do it. I got to be here to volunteer. But after they saw that, they were like, I got to bring my family members. I got to bring them. Then they would bring their family members. Well, my wife can't come today, but I'm here by myself. Can you use me? And so that's how we were able to retain those people. Get them on the front get them on the end, no matter what you had to do that. I mean, it was true. The impact was true. But, you know, we were like, you did this. You know, we were just really excited all the time. And it could have been the same person coming in. We exhibited the same excitement every time they came in. And they were just like, this is why I love it here. This is why I love it here. You know, Open Hand was known for having court-ordered volunteers who came. They had to do their hours. Some people 1,800 hours. Some people 80 hours. They would finish their hours and they would come back. We couldn't get rid of them, which was great. We just couldn't get rid of them. They were like, we love it here. You guys are nice. You talk to us like we're people. You know, because anybody could get a speeding ticket where you got to go to an organization and do, you know, hours. And so we made sure we talked to people like they were people. You know what I mean? So I hope did I answer, Catherine?
That was great,
Okay.
thank you.
So decide what medium of communication that you're going to use. There's so many, right? So many different things. Are you going to do a presentation to groups? Are you going to get involved with like corporate lunch and learns? You can do that. Are you going to do brochures? Do you have brochures for your organization that you can hand out? That you can leave at Starbucks? I've done that too. I left my card at Starbucks. I left my card at Kroger. I've left brochures at Walmart. You know, people might see them. One-to-one conversations. Talk about what your organization is doing to either a family member or somebody in the grocery store, like I've done. Booths at volunteer fairs. There are volunteer fairs all the time at corporate organizations, at colleges. You know, get out there and talk about your organization. Do it at volunteer fairs. Open houses. I know that's probably old school, but Open Hand, we actually used to have open houses where, you know, if you couldn't make it to a volunteer opportunity or an orientation, we would just host open houses on Tuesday nights. You know, just come and learn a little bit more about Open Hand. Media interviews, you know, if you are able to get in front of the media, and different internet sites that we've pretty much talked about a little bit. So these are some recruitment sites: volunteermatch.com, ideallist.org, Taproot Foundation that you can use, createthegood.org, networkforgood.org, NPO volunteers, nonprofit, LinkedIn. I found volunteers on LinkedIn. Yeah, believe it or not, I found them on LinkedIn. DoSomething.org, volunteer.gov, and then of course, Hands-On Atlanta, or Hands-On Your City. And they can help you. Yes?
Can you just explain a little bit more about what these are?
Yeah, so Volunteer Match Ideal List, they will actually post your volunteer opportunities, and it's free.
Anywhere in the country?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anywhere in the country. Taproot Foundation is a really good organization with resources for volunteer management, for anything. They actually have PDFs that you can upload, down, whatever, for recruitment, retention, all kinds of stuff on there. But you can also post your volunteer opportunities there as well. And again, it's for all over the world. Createthegood.org. What I like about createthegood.org, you can actually, your volunteer can actually tag themselves in volunteer opportunities. So that's a recruitment ploy for you. It's like, my friend is volunteering at, you know, Georgia Tech today. I didn't even know that was a such and such. And so that's a recruitment ploy for you to get, you know, the next person involved. Network for Good is the same as, well, it's not the same, but it's kind of like Create the Good. You can post your volunteer opportunities, but at the same time, when the volunteers are actually volunteering, they can post where they are. They can tag themselves in where they are. Nonprofit LinkedIn, just as you can post jobs on LinkedIn, you can post volunteer opportunities on LinkedIn as well. DoSomething.org, same thing, resources, post your volunteer opportunities. Your volunteers can tag themselves into whatever they're doing that day. And, you know, people are always on Facebook scrolling. What is Sarah doing today? Like, what? I didn't even know that you can get involved, you know, get involved that way. And then volunteer.gov is another really, really big resource for volunteer management. And again, you can post your volunteer opportunities, and it is international. So those are just some resources for you.
Community Bucket in Atlanta.
Yes.
But that's also, they're expanding. I'm from Colorado. They're going to Denver.
Really?
I think Austin too. Yeah, I think so.
What's it called?
Community Bucket.
only in a couple of cities right now. But the idea, I think it's young professionals.
It's young professionals.
Oh.
We have had them come in to do many group opportunities. They are looking for, thank you for bringing that up.
Make them on your slide.
Thank you for bringing that up. I can't believe I forgot that. Oh my God. If you know Brian, don't tell him. So identify some of the strong motivational needs of the target group. So this is where I was talking about knowing their needs at the beginning of the presentation. So let's talk about some of the needs. People want to contribute to a larger good. So what can you do to make sure they are contributing to your larger good? People want to be recognized for their contributions. They might be angry over an injustice. They may have seen something that they really don't like, and they want to get involved to make that change. They want to feel respected by their staff. They want to be a role model for their children. They want to receive training for a volunteer job at hand. So it might be cultivating a garden. Somebody has always wanted to do that. Your baby boomers are retired. They want to do something. So that's where you can pull on the heartstrings of those baby boomers. We've got this, we've got that. Oh, we're going to have something next week too. We're going to have something next week. Go ahead and put it on your calendar so they can get excited about that. They want to learn more about a community. They might be new to the area. With Open Hand, we actually delivered, who's familiar with the Atlanta area before I even start giving these numbers? Okay, only a few people. We delivered 50 miles away from Open Hand, north, south, east, west. So we wanted to make sure we covered the entire, basically all of Atlanta, and we were looking to cover the state as well. But folks might be new in their area and they want to just kind of learn the area. So we were able to give them routes, and it goes from street to street. Oh, you want to learn the West End area? We've got a route for that. So just, that might be a motivation. They want to work through a personal crisis. They might have something going on and they don't want to be at home. They might, they don't get involved in that way. And I know gardening for a lot of people is very therapeutic. Very therapeutic. To satisfy either school requirements, even though we've had people to come in for those hours, they end up staying. Peer pressure. Make your significant other happy. Your husband or wife might be like, get out of the house. So, it might not be their personal motivation, but it might be their spouse's motivation. But what I want to talk about is the contributing to a larger good. So a lot of people say that, but they don't really know what that means. And in your organization, you do have opportunities that help you contribute to a larger good, right? Mm-hmm. So in essence, you are meeting that need. Their need is going to match your need. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what it looks like. What do we say to them? So we're going to develop a recruitment message for those opportunities that are specific and need skill sets. This is where this comes in. So your message should include these elements: an opening that will catch the audience's attention, a statement of the need, what is the problem? A statement of the solution, how volunteers can actually meet that need, a statement to address the listener's question as to whether he can potentially do the job, and what's in it for the volunteer? What are the benefits? And a contact point. I cannot tell you how many times people have advertised volunteer opportunities, and then you're like, well, who do I call? Do I just show up? Like, make sure you have a point of contact. So let's look at a sample recruitment message that the American Cancer Society has, or a Red Cross, I'm sorry. So you may never work harder, get dirtier, get paid less, but this could be the best job you never got paid to do. We can't change history, but with your help, we can make it a little easier for disaster victims to get away from today to tomorrow. Every year, fires, floods, tornadoes, and other natural disasters randomly strike thousands of families, sometimes near your home. Lives are changed forever. Families lose homes or worse. It's not a job for everybody. It takes commitment. It takes training. But if you're in good health and you're willing to help, you can become a part of a cadre of trained Red Cross volunteers who are swiftly mobilized when disasters strike near home. You can be part of a community. You can meet other people who care. You can be ready when disasters strike. To find out how, call your local Red Cross. So let's break that down. What have they done? They've added an attention-grabbing opening, the best job you never got paid to do. What? I'm not gonna get paid for this best job that I'm doing? You got me already. It defines the need, disaster response. It specifies the solution. Red Cross volunteers, or it's specifics about it. It holds out the possibility that anybody can do the job if you're in good health and you're willing to help. In addressing benefits to the audience, it appeals to potential volunteers' need to make a difference. With your help, we can make a difference, or we can make it a little easier. And a social need for affiliation. You can be a part of a big community. A lot of people want to be a part of a big community when they're volunteering. And you can meet other people who care. And finally, it specifies a contact. Make sure you contact your local Red Cross. So is this something that you might be able to use in your organization when you're creating a specific recruitment message?
Yeah.
Good.
How specific does the solution need to be, though? Because it just said, it didn't say what you were doing as a volunteer, it just said you need to be a volunteer. So do you need to go directly to actionable steps, or do you just need to say, this is a position that...
Good question. So if you really want them to know what they're going to be doing, I would make that a bigger part of the message. I would say, we need,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what's a
Data
position?
entry.
Data entry.
I need that.
And then I would specify like what it
have to
is.
do it.
What it is. But if it's something that's more broader, you can do something like you're going to be making a big difference in the lives of 1,000 people. But I would make that part a little bigger because, again, a lot of people don't read. And if you have that part as a bigger part, they will specifically see what their solution is. Because they want to know immediately, well, how am I going to impact? What are the benefits that I'm going to bring to the organization? So, really good question, really good question. And then select someone to carry the message. What do you have within your, or who do you have within your organization? Volunteer coordinators, volunteer managers? Kinda. Yeah. So it's important to have an effective, trained person to recruit new volunteers. It's very, very important. Make sure this person is satisfied with the organization. Like, why are you here? Make sure they are satisfied within the organization. Make sure they're enthusiastic, because who wants to get involved in an organization where people are like, yeah, you can change the lives of the You know, you're like, really? Are you excited about me changing the lives of the people? Make sure they're articulate, that they can actually talk about, you know, what they're going to be doing. They can actually talk about their mission. They can actually talk about what their, you know, what your impact is going to be. And then connect it with the person or group that's being recruited. And I say that, you know, make sure you do have somebody who is able to connect with people. Like, Sandy, how are you doing today? You know, just the
eye contact and friendly.
start having that conversation. Because if you're talking to somebody, you know, so it's we have this really good organization, and we've got these volunteer opportunities. Like, you need me? You know what I mean? So make sure you're able to engage. Yes, thank you. Yes. And so remember, just tying up recruitment. Volunteer recruitment is a process to attract people, to invite them to an opportunity. Make sure you address possible barriers and how to make sure those barriers are conquered, if you will. Must be mutual benefits, and design an effective message, and make sure you train people who are going to be able to recruit those folks well.
Can I ask about, what was it? Mutual benefits. I think sometimes that's hard to give to someone what they're going to get out of it. I mean, for us, to glean is fun, it's getting out, you know, and then it's helping people, but it's kind of vague what their real benefits are.
Not really, because they're going to meet other Gleaners.
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They are going to have fun.
Yeah.
And as an organization, you want your volunteers to have fun. So it's beneficial to you that your volunteers are having fun, because guess what? They come back.
Yeah.
It's beneficial that they're going to meet other people, because guess what? Those other people tell other folks. So it's not vague. It sounds vague, but it's not.
Okay.
It's really not.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, we want to make things sound harder than what it is.
Yeah.
You're going to meet other people. You're going to have fun.
I've said those, yeah. Don't know where you get them.
Do you allow your volunteers to take any of the produce if they need it?
Yeah, but
That
I
could be-
don't advertise that because we are not supposed to.
Yeah.
So I
That's a
know that
really
at
good
the
idea.
field.
We encourage, especially, you know, if it's someone that could use it or know somebody that could use a bag of produce. And sometimes that's a real benefit too, because they're like, oh yeah, I'm trying to eat healthier. Or,
We were
I'm trying
told
to
by
encourage that.
SOSA not to say that.
It's kind of like we don't encourage
It happens, but we're not supposed to
Yeah.
advertised.
We're trying to recruit more people in need to come out with us.
Right.
And
Well,
so, you know, it's a
yeah.
real benefit for
Yeah.
them because it
Yeah.
gives them
Yeah.
access to fresh produce.
That's true.
And even though, you know, we don't have, when we do a presentation, we don't go, you can take food home too. But we look at those groups and we're targeting them because we really do want, if there's any way we can work out transportation, because usually that's an issue.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we can get them to come out with us, it's like, we can help you feed your family, and
Yeah.
that's a real
Be healthy. Yeah.
benefit, yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit about retention. So that's one of the most important elements of volunteer management. How do you keep the people coming back? And let's remember, proper recognition, retention goes beyond the numbers. Like we retain 1,000 volunteers, that would be great. But it goes beyond those numbers. It includes proper volunteer recognition, ongoing motivation for your volunteers, helping them to avoid burnout. You know, it's like, take a break. Even though we do need you, but make sure you're taking a break so you can come back. And then creating those brand ambassadors. What does that look like? So let's look at a little bit about recognition, acknowledge their contribution, say thank you. Sometimes people forget that. And thank you is like big for a lot of people. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. A simple thank you goes a long way. Ask them for feedback through individual meetings or focus groups. We did a focus group at Open Hand. We were a little afraid to hear what people were experiencing, but we were like, how are we going to be better? How are we going to do better? So our main opportunities were meal packing, meal delivery, and we had a pantry bag volunteer opportunity as well, where we actually packed bags for people who were able to leave the house, but they just didn't have the means to buy the food. So we had those volunteer opportunities. We wanted to know the good, the bad, the ugly about all of those volunteer opportunities. We invited about 20 people. That was way too many. Because a focus group should be like 10 people. But it worked out so well. You know, we had a person who was able to, you know, bring people back in once they started, you know, talking. The stuff that they were saying was really good, but, you know, the time, was like, okay, we got to, you know. But they felt so cared for. They were like, you really want to know how I feel about volunteering? You really want to know how I feel about the stuff that is going on at the organization? They felt recognized for their efforts. And it was just a focus group that we really needed. But, you know, they felt really cared for. Yes?
Yeah, how did you craft the questions for that focus group? Did you have someone in-house do it? Did you hire like a person who does those things?
So, my then fiance, he's not my husband now, he is somebody who can ask the right questions for what's really needed, because we were like, do you like volunteering? Do you like being here? And he was actually able to pull out like, well, what motivated you to come? What type of things that do you want to see in the future? So we actually we hired him, but we did get somebody from the outside, because you don't want anybody who the volunteers know in the organization, because they're not going to be forthcoming with what you really need to know. So yeah, so he actually crafted those questions for us. He thought a little higher than what we were thinking. And what we did, we got really slick with it, y'all. We actually had them in a room. Nobody on staff was there, but we were able to put a camera on the top of the thing, and we were in a total different room, and we were able to hear what was going on. Because again, you don't want anybody on staff to be in the focus group, like.
Did they know?
They did not know.
Ooh.
They knew afterwards.
Right.
They knew afterwards.
Right.
But they were really, just vivid about what they wanted. One of the things that came out for meal packing or meal delivery, the bags were tied too tight. And so when it got to the clients, because they're dealing with so many different things, they weren't even able to get into their own bags. And so the volunteers were noticing that. We weren't noticing that, because we were just like, get the bags, get in the car, deliver the meal, deliver the meal. And they were able to come back and tell us the things that the clients were dealing with. So focus groups will let you know like what's working, what's not working, what your potential things that could happen. Give recognition, both formal and informal. Give out mints. You are, meant to be here. Just little boring things. They're like, oh, meant to be here. So just those ongoing things, like little small things. There is a website, I don't know if you've heard of vaudeville.com. They have all kinds of different things for recognition. They've got all kinds of ideas for recognition events. Oh my goodness, small things, big things, you know. One of our big events, we had a red carpet event. We had like the little red carpet going down and people were able to come and, you know, take pictures in front of the red carpet. And we had these little faux Oscar awards, you know, so they, you know, they just felt really, you know, important. So you could just do little small things like that. It didn't cost that much. We went over to Sweetwater Brewery. They were like, you can have the space for free, you know, so just, you can probably partner with a lot of organizations or businesses that will let you, you know, use their space. Make volunteering fun. One thing that we did, we had colleges come in to deliver meals, and we had this competition going on. Whoever delivers the most meals this week, we will turn open hand whatever your colors are for your college. So we, you know, they were fighting for these routes, fighting for them. And we ended up changing everything inside open hand, you know, orange and blue. Orange and blue, I can't remember. You know, it was whatever, tablecloths, whatever. I mean, we couldn't paint the walls, but you know, there were just things inside that represented that college. So make it fun, because they were walking in there, you know, like, we're ready for our routes today. I was like, nobody has ever been as excited to get. You know, so make it fun, whatever that looks like for your organization. Have a competition. Whoever gets the most hours gets 6 bananas. You know, make it fun. You know, think of something that will make it fun and keep those people coming. Do you guys have alternative spring break groups coming in? Oh, get
We
alternative
have a
spring
college
breaks.
near us, but it's in a different county.
Okay.
So it's hard to pull them into our county's work.
Okay. I'm gonna talk to you afterwards
Okay.
about alternative
Okay.
spring breaks.
Cool.
Because we
We've
were
had
able to,
college people, but not very many.
yeah, please get involved. We had folks from Michigan, Idaho, Iowa, just coming in to get involved when during their spring break.
Right.
And so they knocked out stuff that we needed. Provide skill development through training opportunities. You know, we've got a volunteering service conference coming here in June. You know, some volunteers want to know more about volunteer management, if you will. Send them to those trainings, especially if you can't go as a staff member. Have them take notes, bring it back. They feel important. You know, do you trust me to go to this conference in your stead? And you want me to bring notes back? Do that. Challenge them with development opportunities. Send greeting cards. Most of your tracking systems now will have people's date of birth. You can pull a report and send, you know, birthday messages. Give them meaningful work, and then develop them as ambassadors and team leaders. So leadership. This is a quote from someone who was given ownership. All of the organizations for which I personally serve as a brand ambassador have given me some type of ownership, whether it was giving me the infrastructure and support to launch an innovative barefoot 5K fundraiser, or to trust to coach and mentor a basketball team of 12 middle and high school students. Feeling a sense of ownership instills the loyalty that fuels brand ambassadors. So give them something that they feel like they can lead, and you will never get rid of them. You will never get rid of them. So how do you match a person's personal goal with your support that you need to keep them as a volunteer? How do you specifically retain somebody? Somebody might say, I'm genuinely concerned about a particular group that I'm serving within your organization, and I want to represent them in a greater way. Really? We've got an ambassador program. We need you to go speak out, you know, on behalf of, what's your organization's name?
Haywood Gleaners.
On behalf of Haywood Gleaners, we need you out in the community.
We've
Because
actually-
sometimes as a staff member, you're not able to go to every volunteer fair.
Yeah.
You're not able to go to every lunch and learn.
Right.
You send an ambassador out, you will never get rid of that volunteer.
I've asked for that.
Yeah, you and I,
We gotta talk.
so, you know, for those times when you don't have those volunteer opportunities that are ongoing, have that person look for volunteer fairs that are in your organization or in the community. Have those people look for lunch and learns, because that is a way that you can keep them engaged, even though you might not have a volunteer opportunity at that particular time. They're still serving in your volunteer, and they're leading, and they feel important. Another thing, somebody might say, I want to learn more about the cause and volunteering. Really? We've got brochures that need to be created. They can create your marketing tools. You might not have time to do that. You might not even have the money to do that. They can create those brochures for you.
That's me.
Volunteering makes me feel needed. You feel needed? We need a team lead. Leaders are always needed, right? we need you to lead something. And you can keep that person engaged as a team leader. It allows me to explore different career opportunities. Well, what are you interested in now? We've got a fundraising event coming up. We need somebody to put that fundraising event together. You can, you know, do you want to learn more about being in the funding department? Do you want to learn more about being, you know, in whatever department within the organization? You can have that person go from one volunteer opportunity to the next, but they're always going to be in your organization. You can retain them that way. Others that I'm close to want to get involved, and I don't know how to do that. Bring them in as a team event. Bring your family members in, and that way you can keep that person, again, as a retained volunteer, and they're bringing their family members in. Volunteering helps me work through my own personal problems, and I want to make sure I'm returning the favor. Really? We've got a mentor opportunity. We have a mentorship program. We need mentors. Come and talk about whatever you've dealt with. How'd you get over that? Bring them in as mentors. And again, you're retaining them. They're always going to be there. So those are some ways that you can retain. Who does this well? Open hand. We have an event, Dining Out for Life, where we partner with restaurants here in Atlanta. We tell them the mission about open hand. I don't know if I'm connected to the internet, but I was going to click on this. And we have volunteers who serve as our ambassadors. They actually go to the table and talk to people. You know, thank you so much for dining out with us today, Sandy. You know, your contribution is getting, you know, paying for 1,000 meals at Open Hand. So let me tell you a little bit more about Open Hand. Oh, well, you can't come and volunteer? We've got these donations that you can give, you know. So they can be your ambassador. They can be, you know, speak on your behalf. Hands on Atlanta, they have civic leaders. They actually have people who go to the organizations where your volunteers are serving, you as an organization will have a civic leader who comes in and serves as your volunteer coordinator for the day. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. They have the sign-in sheets, they have everything already there for you. But Hands On does that really well. They find the people and, you know, they connect their passion with whatever your organization is, and they come in and they run it. Atlanta Bellline, they have a speakers bureau that the volunteers can get involved in. Again, you might not be able to be everywhere. Volunteers can serve on your behalf and talk about your organization. So they are the ones that are doing that well. Any questions? Questions? I feel like I've talked forever and talked about a lot. I'm sorry for... I hope that helped somebody. Any questions?
Talk a little bit more. You mentioned in your example of the person you met at the grocery store how at about a year, you know, they became overwhelmed. And can you talk a little bit about avoiding that volunteer burnout? You talked a little bit about, you know, encouraging them to take breaks and kind of striking that balance between, you know, keeping people engaged in contact and, you know, connected to the organization, but not, you know, the
complete burnout.
Yeah.
So what we ended up doing with that person is kind of what I talked about at the end. You know, I sat her down. I was like, "You're here I think she was there every Tuesday and Thursday." I was like, "This is just too much. Like, we appreciate your work, but you look tired. You know what I mean? You look like you're tired." And so we had the Dining Out for Life event coming up, and we needed somebody to research restaurants in the area that wanted to partner with Open Hand. And so with this position, she was actually able to stay at home and just make phone calls. And so even though she didn't have to come into the office, this was a way for her to be at home. And it wasn't as tedious. Like, you know, I was like, you can call like one restaurant a day, because this was way out in advance. We started the planning so it wouldn't be so overwhelming. But I literally have told people, I need you to take a break. And another thing that I did while they were taking a break, take a break, but recruit somebody in your stead. And so they found somebody who shared the same passion. And oftentimes when people come to deliver meals, they will bring someone with them who serves as a passenger, and they start learning the routes. So when that person is not, the driver is not able to come, the person who's riding with them, they're like, oh, I can take over. So I actually had people, you know, take a break, but make sure you find somebody who can come in, you know. But I was like, you need to take a break. It needs to be about 6 months.
Do you find that they come back afterwards?
They did come back.
I was going to ask about burnout because I've seen that a few times where someone's so devoted and they get going, and then a little bit too much falls on them.
Yeah.
They get a little too out there, and then they're still there, but they're burned out.
They're burned out.
They can't do what they were doing. And I've tried to recruit assistants for people, and I can't get that either.
Yeah. Where are you recruiting?
It has to be local, because
Okay.
we only work in our own county.
Okay, no, I mean like websites. How are you
I have a
recruiting?
website that I
Okay.
built. I'm on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
We have a few followers on Facebook. I send out a newsletter
Mm-hmm.
a few times a year. During Gleaning, I send out a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, those are the avenues. Mostly the newsletter is
Okay.
where we try to recruit specific roles,
Okay.
you know. But they just don't respond. 300 people and
Uh,
nothing.
Have you ever tried, so Facebook has this behind the, I don't know what it's called, that where you can search for people who are a certain age, their interests, there's something else, and it pulls people in whatever that mile radius that you're looking for. Pulls all those people who are on Facebook. And you can advertise through Facebook that way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Targeted advertising.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
How are you
Yeah.
sending your emails?
MailChimp.
Okay.
MailChimp. Yeah.
Can you see how many, have you looked and seen how many people have opened?
Oh, yeah, I track all that, and we have a fairly decent opening rate. I mean,
Mhm.
it's somewhere around 40%,
How?
30 to 40%, but they're just not doing it.
Sorry, I'm gonna try and
Sorry.
backtrack to bigger universal issues. Can you speak a little, I think there's a fear factor with being in a nonprofit and asking people to step up to
Mhm.
do a little bit more.
Mhm.
Can you talk about good strategies of like, you know, because we can't go one-on-one to every volunteer we have and be like,
Right.
what is it that you're interested in? How
Yeah.
can I help? Like, what are ways that we can efficiently use our time to ask people to take on a little bit more? And
Mhm.
also maybe not be afraid to ask, because I feel like a lot of times I'm like, they're already, you know,
Doing.
here a
uh-huh.
couple hours a week, you know, every other week. How do I ask them to do?
Mhm. How have you asked in the past?
When we ask people to step up as leaders, we usually do it via our newsletter.
Okay.
And sometimes in conversation, I'll just say like, would you be interested in this thing? And usually that's the best way to get people to do it. But
Yeah.
it's people that we know really well that
Okay.
we know.
One-on-one is the best, but you just can't always do that.
Yeah, you can. Anybody else?
Well, we're trying a new recruiting strategy for harvest leaders. Harvest leaders, essentially, they're the ones that go out and they are our ambassadors to our different harvests, and they lead a harvest and they bring it back to the farm. So we have a new class called Orchard Stewards, where it's a free course, and we have been teaching people tree care. And slowly, over the process of each class, I've just been floating the idea of, hey, we have
Stepping up.
the harvest season is coming, and you're learning all about these trees, how to care for these trees. You want to be a harvest leader, it's
Okay.
really fun, and you get access to all the, and I talk about what they get access to. You get access to the farm, you get to see something that you wouldn't normally see. You get fruit, you get to pick all different varieties of fruit by
Mhm.
being a harvest leader, and I try to make it sound like it's, well, it is cool. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It is cool. Yeah. It is cool. Yeah.
Are the classes free?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
How often do you offer the classes?
We had 5 classes,
Each year?
but
The whole course.
yeah, the whole course. is 5 classes.
It's a course
Yeah,
of several classes.
yeah,
But how often do you hold the course?
just once a
Just
year.
once a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what do you do? What platform do you use? Because that was one of the things that I was going to suggest.
Oh, email. I just get to them via email.
Look at that.
I mean, we recruited our orchard stewards via our newsletter,
Okay.
and then we just continued correspondence via email, and they signed up for each class with Sign Up Genius.
Okay.
Last year was the first time that we ever had field captains. Before, either myself or an assistant would always be there. And I just reached out by email. I sent a personal email to each person.
Mhm.
Volunteers that were very regular.
Mhm.
You know, said what I really liked about leading a Glean and got a very good response from that. So we trained 6 people last year, and then there were some other people who had come out who were very regular, but I didn't like, they were maybe a little more reserved. I wasn't sure about their leadership skills. This year we decided to try to add 6 more people. And yeah, I was surprised that something that really helped was letting them go in teams because they were a little concerned about going on their own. And so now we actually do, they always go in partners.
Okay.
So that helped. But yeah, just an email, just a personal email. Was a good way to reach people.
Good.
You're doing that.
And
So we also did Harvest Leaders for the last season, and something that we did when we were recruiting them was we made like a bunch of different flyers, a bunch of different Facebook posts that kind of targeted a different audience in each post. Like, do you care about bears? Was, you know, or like, do you want free fruit? Or like, do you want to connect with the community? So that we were like, you know, people who may not have cared about bears but wanted to connect with their community would still get targeted. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
The bears are relevant. Yeah. Yeah, they're not just.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Do we fear being eaten often?
Yeah. More specific marketing too.
Right, like it broadened it because we reached more audiences, but it was more specific in each individual post.
You gotta just ask.
Don't think so.
So where
You
can
gotta
we,
ask.
I mean, that would
We need you to do
you know, kind of
We
a
need you to do
cool,
such and such.
cool volunteer opportunity, bear sitting? Hello?
Yeah.
How many people have that on their resume? Bear sitter?
I'm curious, you know, I'm sure a lot of us have this problem with a lot of people on our volunteer newsletters who just aren't engaged. Is there a good or a recommended best practice for removing them from that
We had to
newsletter?
remove some.
You can't just remove them? What
No, I
do you
mean, yeah, I mean, you go through and delete them, but I just wonder, like, you know, we're thinking about, you know, like, either like reaching back out to them and saying, hey, you know, we haven't seen you in a long time. Is this something you want to continue to receive? Or, like, I guess just wondering, like, what to do with those people who just, you know, whatever. Maybe they've even moved across the country and they're still getting this random email.
Usually they unsubscribe.
But trying to reach back out to those people in some sort of way. Obviously, my goal is for them to re-engage, but I'm just wondering if there's if any advice or best practices on that.
This is something that we just did with COVA because we were like, where have you been? Like, you've been gone for like 6 months. Are you still interested? We're still sending all these emails. So we actually created a, what is it called? Oh my God.
Automation?
It's a something campaign, like basically comeback campaign. And we ask those questions. Have you moved? Do you not like us anymore? Because we're still making space for you. You know, we're still making space for you even though you may, you know, whatever. So we actually created a win back. That's what it's called, a win back campaign. And we actually asked the questions. What's going on? Well, this is what's going on with COVID now. Do you still want to receive emails? You know, have you moved? And so that way we asked them to respond back to us about whether or not they wanted to be removed or, oh my God, they may have just forgotten, or, you know, some of their emails may have been going into the junk email. That's also possible. Make sure you add us, whatever your email address, into your safe inbox, if you will. So we did a win back campaign, and it was something that was very quick to do. Ask some questions, email us back. You don't want to see us anymore, say unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Well, and y'all may all know this, but I just learned that you can like do an automation on MailChimp, and you can say, send this only to people who have not opened my emails in the past 3 to 9 months.
Yeah.
And so then people who haven't opened your newsletters, you can just send them, this targeted message about, hey, you hit unsubscribe. You don't
Slacker.
Quit soft bouncing out of this
tell
box.
people, this is what we need. Especially if they're volunteers who are your regular volunteers, they know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know that we need more people.
Yeah.
You just gotta ask them. We need you to step up. Da-da-da-da-da. You can do it in a friendly way, or you can do it if you don't come, no, I'm just kidding. You can do it in a friendly way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
We had to actually get rid of somebody. We had someone on our committee who was really bad. And that was really awkward, to get rid of a volunteer.
To fire a volunteer, yeah, it's possible. Yeah, especially if they're not doing what's best for your mission.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you
It was
can talk to
difficult.
them in a way, you know, you can either transition them into something that's less important, if you will, or just, it's been real.
Yeah.
You know.
It's hard.
It's very hard. It's very hard. Yeah.
I have a question for kind of the group at large, but if you have any suggestions, Tonya, too. I know, so I work with a lot of folks who run Glean programs, and I know they've said a lot of times it's super easy to get people, not super easy, but it's one thing to get people to go out and glean. It's kind of the more fun stuff, the hands-on delivering stuff to the food banks. But getting them to collect the data is challenging. Does anyone have any great ideas that I can send along?
We did two things. I set up a form on it's hidden on the website, but they have access to it. So in the field, we have data collection on paper. There's a Glean manager for each Glean, and hopefully we'll have assistants for them. Because it's a lot to get all the boxes ready for the different recipients and get everything on paper and get the liability things, you know, signed. But then they get to go to this form and just click, 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 click the data.
They get to. How do you get them to get to?
They do it because it's easy.
Okay.
You know.
And the Glean manager is a volunteer also?
Yeah, they're all volunteers. All we have is volunteers. That's it. There's nobody paying for nothing.
Yeah.
So we do something similar, like our neighborhood leaders, and it's part of their job description, is that at the end of the harvest, and it's much easier now that we've got it automated, where they just have to click a link and they fill in how many pounds of fruit they harvested, where did it go, how was it divvied up. And now what we're trying to do to get more people engaged, because we're looking at getting some corporate, like more restaurants to take our fruit, because we divide the harvest up between food banks, volunteers, owners if they want, but generally they don't, and then if there's a lot, then restaurants. So we're trying to put like a photo, they upload a photo, and then 2 lines about what made that harvest special. Like one harvest I did, it was the last harvest, they were selling their home, and we'd been harvesting that tree since our beginning. Best apples. I was like, can you please ask the new owners if they'll call us? But yeah, but it was a note, and she wanted to have her picture taken with all of us as well, because she felt, the homeowner felt part of the organization. So we wanted to print that, so when we're looking for corporate sponsors, we can be like, hey, but it's part of the process. Like, it was just like, you must fill this out. And then from that, our tech person made it so it automatically uploads the data to the website. And so there's a running count that kind of right on the front part of our website that says Jen harvested 80 pounds of grapes today. And then
Like real time?
Real time, yeah.
That's really cool.
So it's like a company
really cool.
in a way? Or
Yeah, in a way, like it's,
recognition?
yeah, it's kind of like that instant, well, I like it. I'm always like, is it on the website yet?
Do you have a database on your website?
Or like
Yeah, I think so. And now the guy's making an app for the phone so that you just download the app on your phone. Yeah, he develops apps.
Hey everyone, how about a quick round of applause?